All right, we're back. Another edition of The Climb. And I got a good friend on the podcast, fellow Bomber teammate, Michael Lopez. Thank you for joining, pal.
Happy to be here. Go Bombers.
Highly anticipated. And I think for people that are in the know of the Bombers, you know Mike, you know Lopez. He is one of the great guys to be around. Um, and I wanted to bring him on because of a few things. One, he's an author, so we'll have to talk about his book at some point. But two, he's done a lot of work with students and talking about their mental health. Actually, Mike and I have had a few conversations around that and curriculum and what he's bringing there. And it's actually exciting for us to talk about that. So I think he has a lot to offer anyone that's watching here. And of course, he has his own audience that we hopefully can grow by picking up some of these wonderful texts to
There
practice
we
human.
go.
So, Mike, you want to give yourself an introduction here and kind of tell us what you're all about?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I've been obviously, as you know, we spoke earlier, following along, watching a couple episodes here and there, and then obviously our talks in person. But a little bit about me, if you don't know, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
Mhm.
Um, I think in relation to working with students, I spent 6 years as a high school health teacher. Um, three of those 6 years, excuse me, was at the middle school level teaching health. Got a year teaching physical education, been head coach of football and lacrosse teams and at the high school and middle school levels. Um, and then graduated with GARBO here from Ithaca College as
The
a
lovely health science
yeah. There
school
we
of
go. We've seen a
Ithaca.
lot of each other. We've seen a lot of each other here.
Yep.
And then, of course, the book that you flashed up there, Practicing Human, was something that was put out within the past year. And that I'm sure we'll get into that. But that's sort of my take on things that I think are uniquely human, which help kind of ground me and help me kind of look at my life in a different lens, through a much more appreciative lens. So that will definitely find its way into the conversation.
Yeah, and I think if you know Mike, and obviously I've talked about this concept a lot. The guy is just empowered by life itself. And I talk about being empowered by challenges, but in Mike's book, he has these passages, poems that really talk a lot, about the spirit of life and philosophy that comes from his own noggin. That I think sometimes is pretty insightful, as wacky as the maybe
It's
the
true. I'll second
style.
that.
But like, I'm curious because I've talked about speaking with high school students around like age 15, 16. But we also have, and a lot of people have seen her, Debbie Venus, who's worked with elementary school students and said that there's mental health, issues at that age. I mean, like, what have you seen? Not too far away. We're both in the Northeast, but what have you seen? As an educator, you know, with mental health or just in general, the stressors that these kids are putting on themselves right now.
I think I almost hate to bring it up first because it seems kind of like the scapegoat. But social media, and not even social media, but technology in general, has
Mhm.
had a massive impact on teenagers and young adults and adults for that matter, people, humans in general, right? But I think specifically for teenagers because we're kind of at that age where we had technology and we had social media, but we didn't have it from second grade.
Mhm.
And we were just getting like I think it was like Snapchat I got freshman year of college, and that was like a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And Instagram was just really starting to kind of be used by like the masses at our age, at like end of high school, maybe even early college for some people. So we were there, but we didn't grow up with that. And I
Mhm.
think just in general, like when you think of like fear of missing out, like if you didn't get invited to a party in middle school, you found out on Monday from the kid that said he went to the party and you didn't, and it sucked. And then your day would suck, and you go home and you kind of forget about it. But now you see them posting in real time that
Yeah.
you're not here with these people. and then maybe you shoot them a text, and in real time they're not answering you. And then you
Yeah.
come to school on Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, and there's pictures posted about it, and there's so many things that are there by human nature, but they're just amplified with social media, and we didn't have to grow up with that. So I think I feel bad, man. It's tough. It's tough to have such crazy technology at such a young age.
Yeah, I don't necessarily. I can't imagine, like you said, Instagram was just around like our freshman year
Hmm.
of college. I mean, I remember like my pictures were so bad, and like,
Yeah, the first couple pictures.
yeah.
Tough.
And now, like everything to your point is like so perfect. It's so in real time, and it just adds more pressure from whatever there already is.
Yeah.
And like I think that's huge too. And for everyone, get off social media except for Roman Rights and at AJ Garbowski and
There we
Team
go.
Garbo. So
Content you
keep
need.
this in your routine, but everything else just drop. But I think, and it's cool and I'll have Mike plug his handles at the end. But I think if you follow Mike, you realize that this guy knows how to unplug, and he knows how to get one with nature and himself. And I just on top of the social media, I think that makes it so hard to just be one with the world around you when you're just like this in your
Oh
phone.
yeah.
Hand up. I mean, I have my own problems with it too. And, I deleted Instagram for a while, and then I started this podcast. So now I'm on it. That's my excuse
Now
for
you're back.
looking at, Barstool 24/7 again. But I mean, like, I mean, I would love to just hear it. I know that it's kind of your thing of unplugging and seeing the world and just making the best of even like a local trail. You've always found
Oh yeah.
peace and the things around you.
I think something the whole time you're saying this, I immediately think of my mother, and I was raised in a home where like we weren't inside at home behind the TV all day. If there was free time, we're out doing things. And I remember as a kid, oftentimes it felt even like random. It almost felt like, why are we doing this? Or is this that even that much fun?
Mm,
But my mother was very big on going out and interacting with other people,
yeah.
going out and finding a trail, finding a park, taking a ball, going and having a toss, like whatever it may be, something random. Go meet the neighbors, go do this, and she
Mm.
encouraged it and she made it fun in her own way. And so, for me, it's very easy to kind of get involved with like something so simple that at any stage, like today was a long walk with the dog. Like I had my workout, but that was indoors and working out is, I mean, one of my number one things in terms of mental health. But like to get outside and be in fresh air and be in sunlight and be around other people, it's a whole
Mhm.
new ball game. So it's like such simple things that I was kind of raised on that I kind of continue to lean back to make sure that they're in my everyday life.
Yeah, yeah, like it's a part of your core, and
Mhm.
I think I think it that speaks to your creativity, and you're practicing human, and the passages out there is you're really not scared to be out of the norm. And it's crazy to say that being outside's out of the norm, but it
Yeah.
is. Like,
Hey, you're right though.
yeah, it is. And to your point with social media, I think it's so easy to be, stuck. I got to listen to a podcast if I'm going on a walk, and I got
Hmm.
to listen to music on a drive. I mean, I was just listening to a few podcasts, not on a walk though. I have my own mindful walks with me and Rover, my
All right,
buddy.
good, good,
He's
good.
over there sleeping.
I got lunch
Um,
later too.
yeah, but I heard that like it's a new trend on TikTok of going on a walk without your cell phone, but they're videotaping it and putting it TikTok, so they're breaking their own rule.
Yeah, it's
Like,
tough.
doesn't make much sense there, but I think that's a great point. You've had a great upbringing, but in general, you've kept to that free spirit and connecting outside of just social media. And what I think is important to you, and you've mentioned, is like the relationships you keep,
Oh
the
yeah.
connections you have, other
Yeah.
people. And just speaking, for myself, like it meant a great deal to me to be accepted by you guys when I returned back to school. And, dealing with bipolar disorder, you don't know what your friends are going to think. And, it's like, didn't miss a beat. And that to me, connections and relationships mean a lot to me. And I know that means a lot to you as well. God, I mean, I don't know how many phone numbers you have or bombers that you keep in touch with, but it must be a little difficult at times to keep
I
up with
try.
everyone.
I try. It's tough.
So, what about practicing human? Why don't we talk a little bit about that before we jump
Yeah.
off? Because I think there's a lot that people could learn, and I think they should pick up a copy of it. But why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because it looks like my connection is terrible right now.
um, so I think the book itself was not something. This hasn't been like I grew up trying to, be an author, and I grew up like loved writing and reading. That wasn't always the thing. But I think as you know, par for the course is like for many of us is like when you don't have to do something like reading in school or writing in
Mhm.
school, and you get to kind of take a different stab at it in your own free time. You're like, wait, do I like this stuff?
Mhm.
And that I kind of was able to explore reading and writing in a different sense. And then I guess long story short was like how the book started to come to life was that I continuously had the thought of there's so much on my mind all the time, like all the time. And some of it I'm like, this is a very deep thought I'm having right now. I'm like, is this normal? Is this typical?
Mhm.
And sometimes it would be one or two thoughts, but they'd be on my mind all day long. And it got to the point where I almost kind of got sick of it. I'm like, there's so much inside my head. I want it out. I want it out. And so, kind of not like, I guess subconsciously, I didn't really intend for this, but I just started writing it down. And
Mhm.
then every time I wrote it down, I had this, like, kind of like a cathartic release, like a psychological, emotional release when you do something. And I found that with writing. And so, I started to take a lot of my thoughts and my emotions and whatever it may be, put it on paper and in phone notes and in Google Docs, like whatever,
Mhm.
like scraps of paper were falling on my pockets, like it was everywhere. And I just kept writing it down, writing it down, writing it down. And it felt much better, and my head was much clearer. And then after a while, I started looking back at a lot of the things I'm writing, and there was somewhat, despite it being pretty wacky in some parts, there's somewhat of like an overarching theme, and all of them kind of related to the human experience of things that we feel, things that we think, how we connect with other people, how we disconnect from certain things like technology, and
Mhm.
how we connect with ourselves and with the world around us. Um, and so I just started kind of looking through it more and more, and then I put it all in one Google Doc, and then eventually I just loved it. Like it was so innately me. And after editing it many times, I said, I think I want to share this. And then when I started to share it, you might be the prime example here, but when I started to share it, some of the feedback people had given me was extremely personal. And I was hesitant at first to put it out because I'm like, this is very, if you get a copy and you read it, you are getting heart and soul in that book. Like you are
Mhm.
getting the inside scoop on what I'm thinking and feeling. And so I'm like, once it's out there, it's out there. And
Yeah.
that was a little worrisome for me. But then other people started to attach their own experiences and perspectives and things going on in their life to something that I wrote. And I mean that was gold for me. That was gold for me to hear what other people are thinking and feeling because of some of the words.
Yeah, man. And I know firsthand vulnerability is like the biggest like appreciation that anyone can see. You don't know what other people are going through, you don't know what they think, but when you share that a little piece of vulnerability, it is appreciated more than you can, ever imagine.
Yeah,
Um, and honestly, like the book, I think I mentioned to you previously. I mean, this is exactly how Matthew McConaughey wrote his Green Lights book.
love
He
that
just
book.
kept the journal And then you remember you told me like, yeah, I got like way more of them. So not only are you journaling to, help your own
Mhm.
psyche and, well-being, you're putting it out there because, a lot of people don't put thoughts out there because they're afraid of what people think. And it's not about that. It's about, hey, listen, if this can potentially help someone, great. But I think it's definitely a work of art. You got a lot of creativity in you and a lot of things that I think I mentioned that, like, to you, I think it's such a thinker. I read the Daily Stoic every morning, and
Great.
when I first, yeah, it's a great read for anyone that hasn't. And when I got your book, I would read a chapter of the Daily Stoic, and then I would read a chapter, a passage of yours, because it just made me think, and more importantly, it made me grateful and appreciated, the situation I was in, regardless of the, you know, first world problem I had.
Mhm. I think that's. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, like that's like who doesn't love to hear that? Who doesn't love to hear that, right? I'm just thinking now in because I'm kind of connecting this back to my years of teaching with writing, right? And how some people share, they don't share. It was interesting that the very last assignment I did at the end of my 6 years teaching was a reflective essay to my high school health students. And these are grades 9 through 12. Most of them were like freshmen and sophomores, ninth and 10th grade. But I did a reflective essay, and in the essay, one of the prompts that they had to talk about their health class experience with me was like, what was one of the most meaningful takeaways in relation to each of the units? And for mental health, an overwhelming majority said that this one activity stood out to them and that they're going to continue doing it. And it was release writing. And it's funny because that is my favorite thing that
Hmm.
I actually do, like activity wise, like with myself for my own psyche, of course, right? I'm writing, but I love it, and it's such a simple, easy thing that everyone can do, pretty much 24/7, pretty much free, however you want, whenever you want. It's amazing, and it actually has a legitimate impact on the psyche. But I would have these students, I put on a timer for like 8 to 10 minutes, and I said, write whatever the heck's on your mind. It could be an old memory,
Hmm.
it could be something going on you're currently living with. It could be really serious, it could be really happy, it could be something in the future, it could be something you wish you said to somebody but you didn't, something going on home, whatever. And then I said, I'm going to time you and you're going to write. We're not going to share. We're not going to talk. We're not going to swap papers. I'm not going to collect it. I'm not going to grade it. When the timer's done, you're going to put your papers down. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and then we're going to rip it up and we're going to throw it out. And that's it. You're just going to get it out of your head. And so fast forward, they all did this, and it starts with the first 30 seconds start with all kids going, I don't know, I have nothing to write, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, you're a minute or two in, you have a group of
Dead
20 people
silence.
just, can I have more paper? And you're like, what are these kids? What's on their mind? So they're just spilling it all. And then, timer goes off, and I say, listen, when you think about release writing, how often do you have something on your mind and you want to get it off your mind, but if you tell your family members or your friends, there's that fear of judgment. There's
Yeah.
that fear of, if I say this, are they going to worry about me? And I don't want them to. There's a fear, if I say this, are they going to look at me differently? If I open up and I tell this, is this person going to always look at me differently? And it's like, how do you get something out of your head without the world judging it? And that could be writing. You could literally get it out of your brain. You could see it on a piece of paper, and that has like like I said before, like a cathartic release. And then what's is my favorite part about it is when you write these things, you have them on a sheet of paper. It's like taking a screenshot of your brain, because sometimes we're thinking about like 10 different thoughts in our mind, but now
Mhm.
they're on a piece of paper and they're not moving. So you could see what you're thinking and you're feeling. And when you have it like a screenshot like that, it just helps you kind of organize like your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, it's such a release, like you said. And I think you said something so important in there. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially, it's like,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to be yourself.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid what other people have to say. Don't hold back who you are. And I think that's like to, a great, you know, great part about, being your friend is, what you're getting. You're getting, a genuine person who's frankly like doesn't really care what other people think. Obviously wants, appreciation from, friends and loved ones, but like he's not going to let someone else dictate, your kind of, path, which I,
Yeah.
appreciate. So any big takeaways for the audience? I mean, we got to have you on more. We got to get more into more details
Yeah.
of things, because this is just good conversation. I really do appreciate it. What what kind of takeaway can you give the audience, whoever comes across this video?
I think. I mean, I guess it's kind of a general thing, but it's definitely related to like all the stuff we've been speaking about. Whether it be mental health, there are certain things you can do to kind of help regulate yourself or on your path, on your journey, or even like your daily living. I think like your body sends you signals. There are signals being sent, whether it's your emotions, whether it's your physical body. Like if something is stressing you out or worrying you or doing too much, like there are things that you're going to feel innately.
Mm.
If you could just bring some awareness to that, then you'll be able to better navigate yourself. Like I think an easy example is like if you're hanging around a group of people that are not good people, right?
Hmm.
And every time you go to see them, like you could be driving, you're on your way to see them, and your nervous system's like, oh, what are they gonna say? What is it? Like there it is. There's a signal to say like you should be not around these people. If it's it could be more of like a physical sense. I'm thinking like drinking alcohol, right? You're
Mm.
waking up the next morning. There's certainly a signal there saying this isn't the best for you, right? Maybe some anxiety comes and you feel terrible. Like there's signals that come to us mentally, physically, emotionally, and if you can kind of take heed to those signals, and I think you'd be better able to like regulate your daily living.
Man, that is awesome. I mean, put a bookmark in there, because I have so much to say about awareness and how it plays just with my life. I have to be pretty aware of everything going on, physical, mental health, emotional health. But true words from Michael Roman, the author of Practicing Human. You want to plug your ats or handles?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's the book is called Practicing Human. It's available on Amazon. It's as cheap as you could possibly buy a book on Amazon, just FYI, because I wanted to get it out there. And then the
Beautiful.
Instagram is Roman underscore triple underscore something like that. Right, and it's a picture of this face, so you'll be able to see it.
Well, we'll have to send collaboration when we do these clips, so people can see your tag. Mike, I mean, I can't thank you enough, man. You're a great friend.
Likewise.
It's been a journey with all of us bombers. We're a close knit group, and I'm just like I shared with you last year when you posted a book. I'm so happy for you. Excited to see what you do in the future, and we have a lot of similarities in a lot of good ways. So
And we're
let's get
finally
you
having
back
a
on here, my friend.
hey, I'd be happy to come back anytime. I'm glad we finally got to link up on here.
Awesome, brother. All right. Thank you, everyone, for another edition of The Climb. Thank you, Mike, and we'll be back soon enough.
Appreciate you.